Hi, this is Alan Luker, one of the Binion Stake Technology Specialists, and I want to talk today about the Spanish translation system and the wireless mics in the Binion Stake Center. Uh, we're going to focus mostly on the translation system, but I'm going to get ready to go to the next slide here. One of the main components of the wireless mics and the Spanish translation system is the Soundcraft mixer, and I want to go over that real quick. So you can see a traditional mixer will have a main out or a master out. Okay, as you can see, it is right there. And there you see the master outputs on the Soundcraft. Okay, then there'll be 8 inputs. This is a UI12 Soundcraft mixer, and there's a first input, and you can see how it coordinates there. And so you can see that the first 4 inputs are dedicated to the Spanish translation system. Now we'll look at the fifth input, which is channel 5, which becomes a lapel wireless mic, a black wireless mic. We'll talk about that in a little more detail later. Green wireless mic and an orange wireless mic right there. So those are all the inputs. Okay, so I mentioned in the previous slide, we have the main output, which is all the sound that goes out to the audience. In a traditional mixer, we have what we have called aux inputs that it's basically used for the performers to be able to have monitors of some kind, either in the ear or speakers that feedback and tell them what they're hearing. Now I exploit these aux outs to split the mixer into 2 functions, since we don't have to send that monitor back. So we have the main function for the English speaking audience. We'll hear the wireless mics over the sound system. And then we have what you see right there is the master switch. But now, and then that's hooked up to the microphone input at the rostrum. And there you see now is the master output on the mixer. Now, the second function is the Spanish translation, and this is where we exploit and we use these aux outputs here, which we're going to go into more detail. Okay, so these are the aux output connections for the Spanish translation. Here we have aux1, and you can see that goes in right there in the mixer. That's using an XLR type connector. There's aux2, which also uses an XLR connector. Now the next 2 auxes are actually headphone outputs, 1 and 2, but they can be redefined in the software of this mixer as aux outputs, and we use those. Okay, so we're going to go through a little detail what it is. So aux1, you see, is connected to the Williams sound transmitter. That's used by the Spanish for, and then there are receiver headsets tuned to the same frequency. So that's the wireless. K2 is connected to a cable that runs under the floor, down the tunnels, and over to the stake workroom from where this mixer resides in the back room behind the clerk's desk on the rostrum. And so it sends an output of the Spanish mix to a headphone amplifier. We're going to go into more detail here shortly. Okay, then 4, it goes to a DSP input, and we're going to talk about that more later. And then 3 is actually just goes to a headphone jack. It's sitting on the rostrum, and they'll listen to the Spanish mix, and we'll go into more detail of that later too. Now, there's a special caveat I just want to point out. If you ever use on your device, use the wireless mixer, the Soundcraft mixer from the web, which is how you normally get to it. Just go put the IP address you can kind of see behind here. But sometimes it won't allow you to get into the aux sends. So what you have to do is you have to go over and click on this settings button, and I'm not showing it. There's a little bit of a submenu, but drill down to where you finally get to this access tab, and then you just go and click on each one of these, and when it's locked out, it's clicking kind of not grayed out. I guess it's kind of, well, you can see the difference. It's not highlighted. You click each one of these, and then they become highlighted, and that'll give you access. Part of this PowerPoint is helping you deal with the challenge of understanding this diagram that I drew in Visio. And I'm just going to go over this very quickly. We have up here in the notes at the Soundcraft, as I mentioned, inputs 1 through 4 are assigned to aux outputs 1 through 4. And those assignments are done mainly by sliding them down on the gain mix side, so they're down to infinity, and also we're muting. Then we have inputs 5 through 8 are the wireless mics, and they go out the main out, and that's what goes over to Chapel sound system. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this diagram piece by piece and help you understand what this all documents here, this complete diagram. So here's that same diagram, but I've kind of drawn it differently. This shows you kind of the lines. So you can see the Spanish translation. There's two things besides the Soundcraft mixer. Is this dual channel headphone amp that sits in the old satellite cabinet in the stake workroom. Like I say, this is sitting over behind the back room in the rostrum. And a lot of these lines here are actually cables that run through the tunnels and go a little bit of a distance. So we have everything in blue in here is Spanish, and everything red is from the Chapel sound system mix, and we basically just call that English. So let's go through these real quick. We're going to start with the inputs first. The first input is from a Spanish stream mix from a little mini PC we have in the rack, and you'll see this blue one here, and this runs under the satellite cabinet and attaches onto a cable. It runs back to the back room, and that goes into input 1. This input here is for when we're doing a special conference, like for example when they have a temple dedication, like we'll have upcoming the time of this recording here, we'll be anticipating one for the Taylorsville Temple. And so we'll get a special stream for that. You know, they lock up the building. Everybody has to go in and present their temple recommends. So we don't actually need to take the video off of the Spanish stream. We're just all we're going to do is peel off the audio, and we're going to sync that with the audio we have for the main English feed and the ASL feed. So that everything else would be muted on here, and we would have this one running here, and that would be running out all 4 of the auxes. So that's what that's for. The second input is coming from the mix on the sound system. So there's another cable that runs back here. This here, if you were to look at the main rack, this is the original audio input for the webcast, and we aren't doing that anymore. So I take that, and that is a long mic line cable. It comes into, and we're going to show you exactly where that is in this PowerPoint. It comes into this input to this amplifier here, and output 1 goes to a jack. It's out on the rostrum, and we'll show you where that is. And for monitoring for and this could turn around. Actually, this situation here is really reversed, because when they do this in the Spanish word, they're listening to Spanish on here, and the interpreter is actually sending English back for those that are English speakers that are using this system. But so the second input is an input into the Soundcraft, and this input here is for when we're having like state conference, and all of a sudden we have hymns or other music, that we can bring that up in. They're going to probably, most likely the interpreters are going to quit interpreting, and we want those that are listening on Zoom, even on the headsets, or if they're in the release ID room or whatever, they can hear that music. So we bring that up on the mixer, bring that into the mix. That's why I like to call it the Spanish mix. And then lastly, we have the 2 mics. There's one mic, it's set up to go on the rostrum if they're translating on the rostrum, and another one that goes in the back to the high council room. And that is coupled with these 2 headsets here that they can listen to. So we have another, we tap into another Chapel feed from what it's called. I see it right there. That is a chapel mix out. That was originally part of the webcast design. It comes around, comes into this uh, isolation transformer and out, and that couples in and goes into the cable that um, comes into here, and that is in line A. So it comes right from here into this um, input here, and then there's a link out which only has channel A, and then that feeds these two headphones. Now, alternately, let's start talking about the outputs. So we have output one of the aux outs that goes to the Williams wireless, and then you have all Williams sound receivers that will be hear that. Output two of aux output two goes from there under the tunnels, and it goes into channel B. So channel B is all Spanish, channel A is all English, and right now it looks like on here we have all these flipped down to B. They're all sitting on A here in this stock diagram, but we have just about all of these on B because we use the link out to get uh, but we can change it. We can switch these around if we need. So what we have now is um, the headsets there. Then they come out of the chapel mix for English for this, and we also bring another headset on the B side that has the Spanish translation on it. And the reason we have that is that something when you have two in there, the one translator might be listening to English and translating. The other one will want to plug into the Spanish one so they can monitor and make sure they're translating correctly, or give them any kind of nod if they need to correct something or whatever it is they do. Um, so that's about the crux of it that we have here. There's a couple other things that we don't really use, but I will go on to the next one. Okay, we're going to start dealing with the physical transmitter connection. So this is aux1, the inline transformer you see right here, and then we should have this stuff come up there, and there you see the connection to the Williams transmitter, wireless transmitter. Okay, so we're going to start analyzing some of that diagram that I did in Visio so you can understand it. There is a Sterling SHA amplifier used for the audio distribution. Channel B, as I mentioned, is the Spanish audio. It's located back in the stake workroom. And there you see the channel, the input. And if you look at that, you see it goes, there's a terminal block, a spade block, which will show a picture of that. It runs under the tunnel. We have a little note there that says it's running through the tunnel. Comes up into here to female XLR, and it connects on the aux2. So now you start to see the correlation. Here's the Soundcraft mixer. You see the 4 auxes, and here since we're just focusing on the Spanish translation, I'm just showing the first 4 inputs on the mixers. There are the 4 more for the wireless mics, but we'll show that in another thing. So going down, we have the distribution. So there you see is the translation audio mix. That goes to the Zoom microphone. Let's see, that should highlight. There is the microphone. That's not it, actually. That's just the Realtek mic. Let's find that Realtek mic. There it is, right there. So that's output 2, and that'll go in the back of and we're going to show you a picture of that, in the back of the high conference room PC. There's the audio cable to the headphone for the Spanish translation, which I talked about. And you can see that that one right there, and that's highlighted. And then there's the 2 audio cables that I just talked about previously that you'll see right. Actually, where is that? Where is that audio? Oh, it's right there. There's a fine right there. Let me see if that highlights. That should highlight. So there's the 2 headphone amplifiers, and then there's a chapel mix out. I showed you it is sitting right here, and you can see that actually just comes around. There is the chapel mix out, comes around. You can see that isolation transformer comes into there, and it's in there we have it highlighted. Okay, so this is showing, this is the actual pedestal that we installed We have one jack here for, this is on the rostrum on the side. This would be used basically for the Spanish word if they want to translate from Spanish to English. And then right here on the side is where you'd plug in a mic uh, jack, and that would be on channel 4 on the Soundcraft mixer. And uh, this right here is the Spanish one. That's aux 3. That's actually just basically it's the headphone jack. First headphone jack. It just comes straight out and comes into here. So that's that. Okay, so this is where it's located. So there you can see the clerk's desk. There's two uh, chairs there, and it's sitting right in between. Then there's the 3 chairs. So the translator can either sit. They used to kind of sit here, and they'd have the have their, or they could sit back here if they want. But that's where the translation mic could be. Okay, so I want to talk about the digital signal processor. This is the core piece. When this is the one thing that greatly improved the sound system was going to a more of a digital core. That's what makes it now when I can have the wireless mics, we don't have to worry about muting them so much because it really cleans up everything here. But it contains the mixer function, it contains the equalizer function, and it also has additional controller boards that are connected by the switch to the DSP. And so that's where they have a special application. You can go out commercially and read about how they have the generic. It's not tied to the church, but how they have these controls that are part of the DSP. Okay, so I want to take you through input. Aux 4 output is connected to the DSP. It's on input 2.2, and here we're showing the output of the Spanish stream if we're presenting something that's going to be streamed, like a special meeting that the church wants us to be in on. It basically replaces the old satellite system. So there's channel 1, the stream input. Then we're going at aux 4. Now, I mean, we'll be feeding the other auxes, but we're going to focus on aux 4 particularly because it has some special magic it does. So because aux 4 is connected to DSP 2.2 on the main system rack, that 2.2 was Spanish satellite. We don't do satellite anymore, so that's just a Spanish translation is what that is now, which is what the Spanish satellite was. It was the same video, but just had a Spanish translation on it. So I've carried and preserved that feature on there, and so they'll find that controls the controls you see at the rostrum pedal, and I don't think we'll ever use that. They're technically the Spanish word could use it when they're doing from Spanish to English, and they could put it up there, but I don't think they'll do that. Okay, so we have controls in the relief society in the children's meeting room. So we could actually take the Spanish translation, put it over the overhead in those 2 rooms with just the video that we have in there, and they don't have to wear headphones. So there you see the output for it is a satellite there. Okay, so here you see all the mics. You see the lapel mic, the black wireless, the green mic, and also up here you can get a good view of the Williams transmitter and how it connects. These all sit up high because they sit up higher in this room here. They get really good reach out into the cultural hall or out into the chapel into the cultural hall because it's above all the bodies, and all the bodies are made of water, and that's what can kill the RF signal. Okay, so I want to try to show the connection here. Now you can finally see the orange mic. That's on channel 8 right there. If you can't see it, that comes up to here, and that's the transmitter. So it sits there. Right here you see that isolation transformer. That basically comes from the master out. And the whole idea of that is we want to try to isolate, make sure we don't get any ground loops happening. And then that puts buzzes and all kinds of noise into the sound system. So I always try to run as I can through so we make sure we can lift any kind of ground. So we're just coupling via what we call a transformer. And these are all what we call balanced outputs. So there you see the lapel mic. It's got a red tape there. If you look real close on there, I've got a little label that says black mic. Then finally, the green wireless is green, and then we got an orange tape for the orange wireless, and we got them all color coded. So when they're out running around with these wireless mics, there, you're up there looking at this, you know exactly who's got what mic. In case you need to turn up, if they're talking and someone is talking really soft, you have a little chance to turn it up. Or if they forget to mute a mic, if you think it's going to cause a little bit of problem, you can mute it. But generally, we don't have to mute this anymore like they had to in the first days of using this back when Brandon was the steak specialist. Okay, so we'll kind of see. We're going to kind of look and see this. So there you can see the quarter-inch phone jack there. It comes down and around, and it goes. That's for the Spanish stream. It's coming in there, and that actually goes around. It actually goes there and goes down this bundle. We want to spend some time coming and clean this up somewhere. It goes down, tied up to this conduit, and goes down under the floor and out. And then we have a channel 2 input sound from the sound system, and that actually comes from there's a little fine headphone amplifier here. I think we showed you before. And most importantly, there's a network connection. That's how we talk to this thing. It's on 192.168.108.20. You put that into a web page, that IP address, and you will be able to talk to this thing and go through the screens that I gave you before. Okay, so then you can't see here, they're sitting behind, but then the last two channels, if you can just kind of picture what you saw in the previous slides, there is the high council room on input 3 and the rostrum on input. Yeah, the rostrum's on input 4, high council room 3, and the rostrum on 4. Okay, so there you can see that there is the chapel mix out. It comes out of this used to be the old webcast. I extend that over, and you can't see the cable here, but you can see it actually comes in. It goes into the input of this headphone amp that sits on the side of the mixer. Okay, and it provides chapel sound from the headphone amp. The English feed a little bit more here. So here we have input 1. This is the one that goes to the rostrum on that I showed you earlier. This just goes down this and down under the rostrum and comes up that. It's a 3/4 inch black pipe like you use serve for gas pipe, but we just mounted a handy box on and painted it black. But it runs up that pipe, and that is the English monitor. So if someone is sitting wanting to translate for the Spanish word to go from Spanish to English, this is where they would actually be actually listening to the Spanish in that case, and going the opposite, doing just the reverse. Input 2 is the one that goes. This goes from here and hooks into channel 2 of the mixer, and that's where we get when we need to mix in audio for the for like hymns and all that kind of stuff when they're not translating, so that the people are listening to Spanish mix can hear what's going on, as far as the hymns, even though they probably be singing them in English, they can still hear or whatever. Okay, this is an important one here. So here we have aux 2. This is what goes from the XLR connector to a 1/4 inch phone jack, and this is what provides the Spanish mix to that we need, that would go into the SHA4, not the A. That label's a little bit wrong. But you look at the able, it says Channel V Spanish in the old satellite cabinet in the steak workroom. I've got that all abbreviated there. Okay, so now in the high council room, this actually sits on the other side of the wall from where the TV is. So if they ever need to turn on the high council conference PC, they have to go into the steak workroom and go flip it on. But so this is taking a channel B. This is output 2 out of the SHA4, which I got spelled right here. And that goes into the pink input, and that is the Realtek pink mic you'll see when you go to select the microphone for Zoom. So when you launch Zoom, this is where you want to select the mic you want to select is right here, because this is going to be the one that's going to have the Spanish mix. You'll probably, if the high council, if the steak has been state presidency's been using it, they'll probably have the microphone on this eMeet 2 or this one. I think it's this one they mostly use right here. But this is, you'll have to make sure you're selected on this. Okay, so this is showing the physical wiring of uh, the video. So the camera for Zoom is going to be an HDMI to USB video capture card here, and this big thick cable runs all the way around the perimeter of the stake workroom. And it comes here into the main audio visual rack, and it's got a little coupler there. We take this used to be where the webcast was. So since this is basically replacing the webcast, we have a barrel connector. I don't know, I guess you call it a coupler to go from mel to mel. So we take the old webcast and made it up to this cable, which comes around over to here. I have a better picture of this, but that seems to be good enough. So there you see the two different cameras. This HD webcam eMeet that's sits on top. So that's what they would use when they're wanting to do a regular high council meeting. This is what we need to use for when we're sending a video out for the Zoom, because this is going to output. You do that and start the video, and it's going to be whatever we have put over the stake video system, which could be a bunch of different stuff. But that's going to be your video output going into Zoom. You have your Spanish mix coming over there, and then you've got the video. It doesn't have any audio on it, and we're putting the audio we want on there. Okay, now this is just showing a different video that we got going there. It's showing, I think, one of the Come Follow Me videos, I believe, in the background. But I just wanted to show there you can see the host. You can see that you bring up the host thing and see how many attendees are on there. This is the main host. You can click the next tab and you can see exactly if you've got any people on there that are running. But one of the reasons you'd want to do this is if you want to record any of the state conferences, even if you didn't have any real attendees, you'd want to run Zoom just so you can get a good recording of the system if it's that so desired. The High Council Room Mike has actually got a couple of these terminals. There's one in the satellite cabinet. There's one here. They've got, and actually, I've actually uh, paralleled another one so I can test in there. But this is where there you can see the label, and using spade lugs here. They're crimped down really nice, and this is sitting on the side of the mixer. So that's the High Council Room. That's what it looks like on the mixer side in the back room on the rostrum. Okay, I just wanted to get to the wireless mic setup. So here we see how we actually separate things. So here we've got the Spanish translation. You can see we have all of the sliders turned down to infinity right here, and we have them all muted. And this is how you want this to look on this main mix gain. If you happen to mess up and unmute these, this output here is what goes into that mic jack. So there you can see we have our wireless mics. So you definitely have to make sure that the Spanish translation. This is how we actually do the assignment. There's probably a better way on here, but I haven't gone into it that far. So here we make sure that these first four inputs are all muted and the sliders are down all the way. And then you can unmute, if you can unmute all these when you're wireless away. This is the way they used to, when I first started doing it. You could do the same thing here. But I found with the new sound system, we could actually just leave these unmuted. But okay, we'll go on to the next slide. Okay, I want to talk about the gain function. The gain function you have to set up on all four of your inputs. This has nothing to do with the mix. So, when you first open up one of these and you've got the gain up and you're not hearing anything, and you've got the mix up on the mix side and you're not hearing anything. This is one place you'd want a sec to make the sec come look at. Make sure we have some gain going on all these inputs. So on the gain, this is one place where we want to make sure we have them all. We don't want to ever mess with the 48 volt because there's not a microphone we have that has to have phantom power. We could take the pulpit mic and plug it in here, and actually the pulpit mic runs on phantom power. Even the sacrament mic does, but if we had a phantom power mic, then we would enable 48 volts. But we don't. We're not using any right now, so that's what the gain function is here. Okay, so here I'm showing the aux sends. These are the aux sends. This is where we actually check that right here. We're showing everything unmuted, and I don't think you would ever do that. You would definitely have the sound system out. Actually, we're missing one here on the very end. There would be the stream. You'd have definitely have that muted. Be on channel one, which we kind of cut this off. Then channel two, you'd have that muted. So when we actually do Spanish, we just want to either just have either a roster mic or um, uh, the high council room mic unmuted. And so this is the first one. This is showing how it's going into the Williams wireless right here, and you can see that it's got a slider on the side for the main out that it's actually getting some level. Okay, so I'm just going through the auxes real quickly through here. I think I've already covered this, but there's the one with Williams sound transmitter. Okay, aux 2 I just previously covered is obviously this is an important one because this is where um, the Realtek audio is on the Spring Hill Suite. So you want to make sure that you want to make sure that is when we get to here that is unmuted there, so you're getting your mix coming into there. Okay, so I think we know enough about how this one is set up. So this is what it looks like on the mixer. Okay, this is that headphone jack. You can look at the Spanish monitor. It's on the small pedestal uh, behind the seat, as we showed you earlier on the in this video. And there's the SP4. The SP4 as we uh, are talking about it in there. That's the last one.